We doubled our turnover every single year for the 7 years that I built the business and ran it, from 1 million in the first year to over 64 million. I guess there were two core inspirations that led me to do Hell's Kitchen, both of them from personal experience, one from my personal life and one from my professional life. So professionally, I'd been working at Nickelodeon children's television for 10 years. I'd gone from the finance guy right through to the general manager. And over that time, I'd seen all the sort of challenges that a children's television channel had around being seen as part of a problem for why kids are not as healthy one generation to the next, i.e. they're watching television, they're watching bad ads on television and they're buying the stuff from that, or they're watching television and they're not playing or being physically outside. So I was sort of aware that we have a problem in our society of children becoming more unhealthy. And I could see things we were trying to do about it. And I could see the power of building a brand, as we did as a young management team for a big company at Nickelodeon, which was a joint venture between Sky and Viacom at the time. What we were trying to do to address that through good content, through working with kids to create that content and to sort of position it so it was trusted by parents. So I could see we had a problem in society from that. And then at the same time, I had my first of my children, who was Ella. And when she was a baby, she was great at eating for the first month or two, weaning, and then she sort of stopped wanting to try new things, and it was all a bit of a challenge. And I guess I used just my personality, which is being a little kid myself, but silliness and mess and games, to get her to laugh, to open her mouth, to pop the spoon in, and for her to associate funny things with eating. And I thought, okay, there's a solution. If we can get kids to want to eat food because it's fun and it's healthy from a parent's point of view, we can make the best healthiness of food, I think I can solve the problem. I can build a brand, as I've had the experience about how Nickelodeon's built. I can use that professional experience of understanding what the problem is with an innovative solution around a new brand of baby food that is fun for children, but is healthy for everybody, but from parents' point of view. So that was the seed of it. And I sort of have been at Nickelodeon 10 years, and I thought, I've got this itch now, I've got this idea. If I don't give it a chance, I'll regret it. I guess one of the learnings I've learned in life is, understand the downsides of everything, but put a foot forward and try something and be curious and be brave and go into the unknown. So I gave myself 2 years. I gave up my job and I thought I'll learn so much. If this even doesn't come off, it'd be like doing a mini MBA for me. But as I got into it, just before those 2 years, after stories I could tell forever about persistence and determination to get through, I got a listing with Sainsbury's for 350 stores right across the country, not having sold a penny's worth of anything to anyone before, and only having kind of mock products ready. So the day they said, we'll take a flyer, we'll go with you, we'll invest heavily in terms of wide distribution, over to you, I kind of immediately thought, I've done it. And then I thought, oh my God, I've got to do it now, because I didn't have the stock, I didn't have the money, no experience of the distribution systems, and sort of learnt all that. So that got me off, unusually straight into major supermarkets, straight into the high street. And so challenges then you asked about, I guess I'd never done it before. So in some ways that was scary, but in other ways I was blind to some of the challenges and things I know now. So there's a certain green naivety that is a benefit. But so challenges, we were innovating all over the place, different kind of packaging, different kind of recipes, different brand positioning. Every other baby food was around functionality, and I was all about emotion. I just believed that people are the most emotional when they have their new babies, and so work with that emotion and make it highly emotive. Work with the child, the baby, the toddler's sort of responses and emotions as much as the parents. And innovated in marketing and sort of positioning and as well. So one example of that would be that because I was in the television industry before, I knew that they don't always sell all of the airtime in the advertising slots that they've got. And I used to sit there and decide what to do with it. And part of it was, okay, we'll give existing advertisers more space, which consequently solves the problem, makes them happy, but makes them come back next year and says, last year you gave me all this amount, well, I want at least the same amount again. And so it kind of reduces the value of that airtime for you. Or they just use their own internal advertising for new programming or the brand positioning, which they don't earn any money from. So I sort of said to them, if you be my partner in this, help me make an ad and give me some slots, so I can go to Sainsbury's and everywhere and make the awareness of the brand national straight away. I'll give you pennies out of anything that we sell. And so that worked. So it saved me having to raise that bit of money around marketing. It gave me a national footprint straight away. It helped me go to the major supermarkets and say, I am this tiny little weeny business, but I've got massive opportunity to reach your audience through advertising on television. So they were examples of innovation that I had to cover. And I guess I've also covered the awareness building challenge of any new business when you're going onto a national scene. I guess in that national sort of, in that sector, my competitors were all multinationals. So you've got like Nestle and Danone, big companies. And all my customers were concentrated on a few major supermarkets. So they've got all the power. Competitors could jump on me, but they were very slow at innovating, and there's all the legacy stuff they've got. But I had to work out how I could use all of that to my advantage, even though it was a challenge. Funding in itself was a challenge. I was in my mid-30s, saved a little bit to do some sort of pilot development and sort of a little bit getting ready. But at that point when they said, right, you're in 350 stores, I had no money to go and buy all the packaging, all the ingredients, get a factory to make it and then distribute it, and then wait for Sainsbury's to pay me all those weeks or months later, and risk the fact that it might not sell through and they might just drop us straight away. So I had to work out how to minimize the amount of cash that I needed and where to get it from. Ultimately, talking with my wife, we remortgaged our house and put that money in. And then, as I just talked about with the marketing and the TV advertising, managed to not have to use, worked out a way, an innovative way to not have to use cash up front. As an accountant by training, I kind of knew that cash was king and kind of the P&L was really important. But cash in the bank is the vital thing, and the really bad companies run out of cash quickly, but really good companies do too, because if they're growing fast and they've got to replenish stock all the time, and there's lags to when they get paid, you've got to bridge that gap. So I didn't take any external finance on. I remortgaged, put all the risk, all the investment, everything on myself, but retained 100% of the equity from doing that. So I guess they'd be the main challenges that we overcame. And then as we got going, competitors saw us and either copied us or tried to undercut us. Dealing with the supermarkets, tremendous opportunity to get into, the big 3 or 4 supermarkets, and you're in 80–90% of the retail distribution. But, you've got to be very careful that they don't have all the power, and they see you as bringing something different. And so I was very conscious to ensure that every pitch that I did, every relationship that I built, was built on a unique sort of pitch. It wasn't one pitch, here's every supermarket, here's one pitch for everybody. I understood what their motivation was for wanting to have a meeting with me, why I would be different at the end of the week, what problem I was solving for them. So when the person I met, the buyer, went to their boss, I stood out. So, and then as you grow, the challenges of fast growth, extremely fast growth. We doubled our turnover every single year for the 7 years that I built the business and ran it, from 1 million in the first year to over 64 million from the UK in the last year. It was about 100 million turnover when I sold it 7 years after launching. Area that I haven't spoken around actually is around my first book about little wins, which is which is a personal development book, really. It's a bestseller. It has been a bestseller. It's been out since 2017 now. And I've done lots and lots of talks about it. But that book really it's about the huge power of thinking like a toddler in our adult life. My whole life has been working with children. They are my inspiration, my purpose in life, to help them live better lives. And there is so much we can learn from small children, from toddlers, because I believe that you and I and everyone listening to this was their best human being when we were all about 5 years old, and we had the potential to think imaginatively, think free think, have self-confidence to ask stupid questions. There's a whole load of things that we had then, and if we could take 2% of that way we looked at the world when we were 5, now when we're dealing with much more complicated problems, obviously, but retain that inquisitiveness, that curiosity, that self-confidence, imagination, free thinking, all of those things, we could look at our problems in a different way and find solutions to them, whether at the corporate level in our business, or whether they're our personal level and the relationships and the situations that we're in. And so my book identifies 9 skills that we had and just discovered at the age of 4 or 5 as a toddler, that we had just discovered, whether that be diving straight into things and not prevaricating, never giving up, and ability to get noticed, and being creative and having confidence and having fun, involving others. A whole load. There's 9 skills that we had, and my talks help people grow down to remember and be 5 years old again, and then to go through each of those, or as many as relevant to the audience, of those 9 areas, and just think how it was possible then, and how you can adapt those skills that we learned that we don't use as much now as an adult in our daily challenges. And maybe if we did, we'll find different ways of doing things, looking at things in a perspective of the world. And then I get them to grow back up again if they want to, and they can think strategically, if it's at work, about the small thing, little wins, little things they can do differently by taking the little wins from the little people that they once were. So it's not about learning new skills, it's about rekindling old skills that we all had. And I've talked to students, entrepreneurs, people who have never worked and are thinking about working, try and give people confidence when they're retiring, going into a new world and what they can think there, and people in big businesses wondering how they can fulfill themselves more, or big business leaders thinking, how can we approach the big challenges that we've got in a different way? So it's done tremendously well, and it's a pretty unique angle, I think, that I've come from, because the book is peppered with all the real life experiences, a lot from growing Ella's Kitchen, and the things of how we learned from our heroes, our core consumers, those toddlers then, but really to take it forward to, the one thing every adult has got in common is that they once were a child. For some of us, for most of us, God willing, more and more of us, there are happy childhoods and there's things we can reflect back on. But for all of us, I'm sure we recognise that toddlers have this imagination that is unlimited, and for them, nothing is impossible because they don't know any different. I would say, when you and I were 4 and if we had the capacity to project forward and think, bloody hell, life's brilliant. I'm only 4 and I've learned all these things, from not being able to smile, to talk, to walk, to think independently, to now question the world. What the next 80 years is going to bring? This is just the first years. And what the truth is a lot of that is, we talk conformity. Culture knocks some of the uniqueness of us as individuals out of ourselves, and we don't think like we once did, and we conform to the way things are, to the status quo, to binary possibilities. And if more of us just got 1% of our day thought when we were had the potential to think when we were 4 or 5, we could change many of the problems that we've got today.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Paul, for all the answers and for your time. Is there anything you wanted to add that you didn't get an opportunity to talk about, or anything you wanted to redo or change?
No, I don't think so. There's obviously little examples and things that I won't go into. One of the things in my book that I took a different way of looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. as a personal development, but also as a culture, a corporate development sort of thing. And I've got this model of the base of the pyramid. So going from, you've got to be able to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy. And you can't leave a legacy until the other three things are right. You can't learn until the other two things are right. You can't love what you do or who you're with until you can live. And to live, whether that's a company, you need to have a sustainable business plan. Whether it's as an individual, you need an income stream and a support network to help you live. And then you can love what you do, and you can pick and choose your jobs, or you pick and choose your purpose to love that you do, and lifelong learning. And how can we all leave a legacy that there was a point of us on this earth to fulfill ourselves, but to leave our handprint after we've gone. So I do talks around that as well. So hopefully you can see that there's quite a variety of themes that ultimately come down to people and a curiosity to ask why all the time and challenge things. But the privilege of being able to build one of Britain's iconic food brands or brands in the last 20 years, and then go on to use the experiences that I've had in other areas of life, has a unique angle to it.